Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Master Passive Income Podcast. My name's Dustin Heiner. Thank you so much for being here with me. Now, in the Master Passive Income Podcast, we talk all about real estate rental properties and how you can quit your job with real estate and how you can have money coming in every single month so that you don't have to work a day ever in your life again. And also how this is an automatic business. A rental property is automatic because the rental property does all the work for you. It's working while you sleep, while you go on vacation, while you play with your kids and grandkids or whatever. Today, we're going to be talking all about retiring early. Now, I quit my job when I was just 37 years old. And when I was 27, I made the goal for myself to quit in 10 years. And guess what? I fulfilled that goal. When I was 37 years old, I quit my job and I will never need to have a job again. So let's get in there. Let's start looking at how you can quit your job and how you can retire early by investing in real estate. I'll give you the plans. I'll give you the ins and outs and how to do everything. Let's get started and start the show.
Welcome to the Master Passive Income Podcast, where we talk about investing in real estate rental properties with a special focus on making enough money so you can quit your job and live the dream life. And now, here's your host, Dustin Heiner.
All right, now let's get started. So I am fresh off a week-long fishing trip to Alaska. I had a good friend of mine. We flew up to Alaska, fished for 4 days in a row, had a fantastic time, caught loads and loads of fish. It was terrific. Now here's the best part. Catching the fish was great, experience is great, but even the better part was I still made money even though I was not working. I didn't have to ask my boss, hey, can I have a week off? Well, what are you going to do? I don't want to tell you because I just want to do my own thing. I don't have to answer to you. Well, I didn't have to worry about asking my boss for time off. I didn't have to worry about my work not getting done, and by the time I come back, all of a sudden there's so much work to do. I didn't have to worry about any of that, and I didn't have to worry about money coming in. And the reason why is because of my real estate. My rental properties make me money even when I go on a trip to Alaska and go fishing. Now, what I want to talk to you a little bit about before we get into retiring early, I want to talk a little bit about what some people in America tend to view as retirement. They look at Social Security as being their retirement. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you believe that Social Security will be there when you retire or when you're at the age to retire? I'm going to say, I'm 39 now. I will, if it's there when I retire, when I'm at the age to retire, then that's great. That's extra money. Hey, let's go buy a boat with it or let's do something fun with it. That's not going to be my retirement. Now, here's the sad thing is, basically, from what I've read and what I've learned, that Social Security is basically all gone. The Congress has used Social Security to pay off loans and pay off things and use the money, and really now it's empty and maybe has a little bit in there, but it doesn't have much. And the only way that they're able to pay out Social Security to the people who are receiving the benefits are the new people who are working and taking that money, receiving it from them, and then giving it out to all the people receiving the benefits. I personally don't believe Social Security will be there when I retire or I come to the age of retiring. Now, it very well could be, which would be great. But here's the interesting thing. The Social Security system was never intended to be a full-blown retirement plan for you. It's not that the government said, I want to, or we, the government, want to create a way for every American to retire just because they work and we take money out of their paycheck. No, it was never meant to be a full-blown retirement. It was to be there in case you needed it, in case of emergency, or in case you didn't have the ability to take care of yourself. It was not meant to be retirement. So if you have any thoughts that your retirement will be Social Security, I am strongly encouraging you to get that out of your head. Completely remove that from your head because it could potentially be gone tomorrow. The sad thing is, like I said, Social Security's already been gutted. Congress has already spent all that money and they're just relying on new money coming in from new employees that are entering the workforce. It's basically a Ponzi scheme. And in a previous podcast, I talked about how I almost got sucked into a Ponzi scheme. Ponzi scheme, basically, where they take money from an investor, give it to other earlier investors, and pay them out. And the only way that it keeps going, that it is successful in continuing on, is if they get new people investing. Same thing with Social Security. The sad thing is that more than likely it's going to go belly up. And here's a big thing. Congress can actually just get rid of Social Security at any given time. Congress, the president, or however the legislation actually works out, but they could pass a law and gut Social Security and it would be completely gone. Here's also another pretty interesting thing. I used to work for a county government, and the county government was always well known for the cushy retirement. In fact, I had my boss, he was the assessor of the county that I worked at, retired with 100% of his pay coming into his pocket every single month. So basically, he worked for the county, retired, and then I think he was making probably $130,000 a year. But because of the pension, because of the retirement that he has set up, now he gets all that money without working, 100% of his pay. Can you believe that? And I quit my job, even though I had such good potential retirement, money coming in. I quit my job because I realized at any given time they could loot that pension fund and I would be out. I didn't want to be dependent on anybody else. I wanted to be independent. Now, hopefully you're like me and you're thinking to yourself, how do I retire early and how do I protect myself from either being fired, being laid off, Social Security being gutted and taken and there being no more, my pension being gone? How do you become independent, financially independent? Now, I, at 37 years old, became financially independent. I don't rely on anybody for a job. I don't rely on anybody for anything. I rely solely on myself and my ability to make money. Now, if you are listening to this podcast, more than likely you're interested in retiring early. Now, I'm going to walk you through all the steps that I taught myself as I went through this entire process, and we'll show you how I built my business from the ground up. That after 10 years of investing, I was able to quit my job and literally never need a job again. I don't need Social Security. I don't need my pension. I don't need any of that stuff. I'll be super happy when and if I get it. But right now, absolutely, I will never need it. And if it's gone, then I'm still fine. That's the big deal. I want to make sure my family's taken care of, and I depend on myself to take care of my family, not anybody else, not the government, not anybody. So let's look at how you can quit your job and retire early by investing in real estate. Now, the first thing I want you to do is to look at what is your goal. What's your goal? Is it a time frame? I want to quit my job in 8 years, or I want to make a certain amount of money. Let's say my income is $3,500 a month and I need to replace that. Let's say it is in 5 years, I want to be able to travel the world with my properties and be able to quit my job. Whatever it might be, what's your goal? Now pause for a second. And if you need to pause this podcast session, go ahead and pause it and think to yourself and really look at what your life will be like if and when you don't have a job. You don't have to worry about your bills. You don't have to worry about money for vacation and all that sort of stuff. You don't have to worry about anything because you are completely dependent on yourself. You're independent, basically. So what is your goal? My goal when I started was to quit my job in 10 years. That was my absolute goal, was to make sure that I was able to quit my job. Now, this is a little exercise that I want you to do. When you're done, if you're driving, when you pull over and you park or you get done driving, or right now, I want you to take out a piece of paper, maybe like a Post-it note, maybe like a sticky note, something physical that you could write on. And I want you to really consider what your goal is going to be and then write that goal down. Write that goal down so that then you can post it to where you will always see it. It could be maybe you put it in your wallet or your purse to where, you're always opening your wallet or your purse and you're seeing it there. Maybe it's you're taping it to the back of your phone because you're always going to be having your phone with you. Maybe it's taping it to your dashboard. Maybe it's taping it to the window and in your kitchen. As you look outside the kitchen, you can see that Post-it note. Or it's on the mirror in your bathroom. I want you to put it in a place that you can see it every single day so that it will remind you what the goal is. The goal is not money, in my opinion. The goal is not money that can just eventually be gone. Your goal is to change your life. Your goal is to change your life to design it the way you want it to be, and not around your job. You want to make sure that you are focusing on that goal every single day. When things get rough, you look at that goal and say, I'm going to continue. I'm going to fight and push through to attain that goal. Now, in my 10 years of trying to build my business up enough to quit my job, there were some setbacks. Definitely were some setbacks. I've lost a lot of money because I didn't know what I was doing when I got started. I didn't have somebody like me teaching me how to actually go through the process and not lose money. Now, I'm here for you. This is why I have this podcast. This is why I have my online courses, coaching that I have, and my podcast, my articles, my free course, because I want to see you attain your goal. Now, your goal may be to buy a Ferrari. That's fantastic. It's not my goal, but it's your goal. I want whatever goal is important to you, write that down and put it in a place that you will see it on a day-to-day basis. And when you see it, don't just gloss over it. Remember, this is something that you are striving for, to change your life. And like I said, if it's buying a Ferrari, then great, do that. If it's quitting your job, do that. If it's buying a house in Waikiki, then definitely do that. You want to have your goal set so that you are going to be fighting for it day in and day out. Now, what's also interesting about your pension or your 401k, your IRA, or anything like that, let's say you save up $1 million for your retirement. Well, you retire at age 62 or 65. Well, what if you live 20 years to where you're 85 or 90 years old? Do you think $1 million is going to last you that long? I hope it will if that's all that you're banking on, but not everybody's even going to save $1 million. More than likely, $1 million is not going to last more than, let's say, 8 to 10 years, and then it'll be gone. Let's say you only save up $500,000 or $250,000 or $100,000 for your retirement. You're not going to be able to live the golden years like you would want to be, traveling the world, buying a boat, going fishing, seeing your grandkids all the time, just hanging out with friends. It's not going to be the same because you're hoping that the money is not going to run out before you die. That would be the worst, is if you would actually have to go back to work. I've known of many, many people that have, after retiring, had to go back to work. In fact, my uncle, he actually was a teacher, then became a principal, then was superintendent. He was big hotshot in all the school stuff. He was doing a great job and doing great. But after retiring, 15 years after retiring, he's now back working again because he doesn't have enough money coming in. His pension is not covering him. Really, really sad, but it's just a fact of life. You may run out of money before you die. And how much better would it be to be independent and dependent on yourself so that you in retirement can live the golden years like you absolutely want to. Now, the next step after creating your goal, I want you to calculate your personal expenses. I want you to look at all your expenses that you have. It could be your car payment, your mortgage, how much food you eat, if you go to the movies, all your entertainment, your taxes, your insurance, your cell phone bill, internet bill, cable bill, all these bills that are coming out of your pocket. I want you to total up all of your expenses. Now, if you go to my website, go to the show notes, I have a few different downloads for you that are going to help you walk through this process. Go to masterpassiveincome.com/024, and you will find my downloads. I have a quick budget worksheet that you're going to be able to go through, and also a personal financial statement, which we'll talk about in just a second. Go there, download those, and start working on creating a budget and calculate all your expenses so that you know how much money comes out of your pocket every single month. And if you want to figure out what you spend your money on, really just look at your bank statement and look at your credit card statement for the past 2 months and calculate all the expenses that are coming out of your pocket. Put those down. You want to know how much money you need to live. Let's say, for instance, your mortgage, your insurance, your taxes, your food, your entertainment, everything, your car payments, everything total up, you're spending a total of like $2,800 a month. Well, if you're spending $2,800 a month, then you need to look at, how do I get enough properties in my collection of properties in my business to cover that $2,800 expense? That's the route that we're going to be going. That's what we're thinking about, is how we can build our business big enough so that we can then use that money to pay off all of our expenses. Praise the Lord, I don't have to worry about my bills anymore. My bills are taken care of because my properties make me money over and above all of my expenses. So go over to my website, masterpassiveincome.com/024, and find that personal budget quick worksheet and go through that and find your total expenses. Now, what you're going to do from there is you're also going to see, wow, maybe I'm overspending. Let's say you are spending $2,800 a month, but you realize you only take home $2,500 a month. Well, if you're going $300 in debt every single month, that's a problem. Maybe it might be to cut out some expenses. Maybe it might be, well, you're having a $400 car payment. Maybe sell that car and buy a $3,000 beater so that you can drive around, so that you can cut out your expenses, so that you get below that, so you can start saving money. That's the end goal, is to have money to invest in properties that then make you money. The next step that I want you to do is, in my website, download the personal financial statement. Complete the personal financial statement and make sure that you fill out everything from your assets and your liabilities. This is going to be basically your report card for life. When you were going through elementary school, you got report cards. Your report card said, hey, Johnny got an A in math, got a C in English, got a D in this subject, and, reading, writing, and all that sort of stuff. Now, your report card for life is how you are in your financial statement. Do you have more liabilities than you do have assets? Are you going in debt every single month? This is going to be something that you're going to use for your future investing. So go to my website, download the personal financial statement, fill it out, and see where you are. See what your report card is showing. And you're more than likely going to need to start cutting out some expenses. I know I did. I know all of my students, I would say just about every single one of my students, I've showed them how just by cutting a little bit out of their expenses, they can save more money and buy more properties and quit their job even faster because they had more money to invest. All right, so from there, you want to figure out your budget. Next step is figure out your total budget and see, well, if I make $2,500 a month, I need to make sure that I budget so that my expenses are below that, so I can save money every single month. If you're making $2,500, you want to budget, basically cut out things, like cut out going to the movies. Instead of 4 times a month, go once, or cut all the movies out altogether. If you're buying Starbucks, or if you're buying some really expensive coffee, cut that out. Now, I'm not saying cut that out forever. Once you get to the point where I quit my job and I have plenty of money, I can go to Starbucks every day I want. But I don't, because I don't really like Starbucks, but I have the money to do that. And so I sacrificed in the beginning so that now I can live however I want. So go through your budget. Make sure that you're saving at least $100 every single month. So find your income, you know how much you make, that's take home. If you take home $2,500, I want you to work towards saving $100 a month. So get your expenses down below $2,400. There are so many different situations, and you're the one that's going to have to figure out and make the tough decisions how to get your expenses below your income. Another thought might be maybe getting a second job. Maybe starting a side business, a side hustle that's actually going to be working towards making you more money. So instead of you making $2,500, you're making $3,000 a month. Figure out a way to make more money. Then that more money you'll be able to save to then invest. That will then make you even more money. So now your next step is find your target income. Now, if you're going to retire early, you're also going to look at expenses. On top of that, how I can keep investing, continually buying more properties and live the dream life. I went in March, I took my entire family, my wife and my 4 kids. We traveled all through Europe. We went to 11 different countries and saw everything. It was absolutely fantastic. But that was because I had plenty of money coming in. And I still have money to invest. In February, I just bought 3 single-family homes and a duplex because I had the money coming in, and that makes me even more money. So find your target income. Let's say you make $2,500 now, and you start driving for Uber, or you make a side business, and you start making $3,000 a month. Well, make sure that you save that money to buy a property. Now, when you're looking at what your target income is, think about what you want to do with your life. If your expenses are only $2,400 a month and you wanted to be able to have an extra $400 a month when you retire to invest and save for big long trips, then make sure you calculate that in. So let's say you're $2,500 and that's your total pay right now. You get a job for Uber or deliver pizzas or whatever it might be. You start making some extra money, start saving that money. But your target income is whatever you think you want your life to be like in the future, whatever you want to do, tack that on top of it. So start saving and putting away so that in the future, you're going to be putting away $3,500 a month, an extra $500 a month so that you can buy more properties, so that you can go on lavish trips. You can buy a Ferrari if you want. You want to make sure that you put that future expenses in as a target income. So before you quit your job, you have that already in mind and you're shooting for that instead of just shooting for a low base number. All right, next step. I want you to save for future investing. Just like how I said, I want you to start saving a minimum of $100 a month. The goal is 10%. In my opinion, you want to save 10% of all your income every single month so that it can go towards future investing. I'm getting ahead of the game. When I was growing up, I was never taught to save. My parents said, it'd be great to save, but I was never really taught to save. But here's what's great that I'm doing with my kids. Every time my kids get any money, half of it, so 50%, not just 10%, 50% of all their money goes into savings. So my kids, ever since they've been 2, they've been putting all of their money, half of it, in savings. 10% goes to God. 20% goes to mommy to pay for electricity, pay for food, pay for everything else, and 20% they could spend however they want. That's how we break it up. So 50% goes into savings, 10% goes to God, 20% goes to mommy to pay for all the family stuff because it has to be paid for. I want to instill in them that, as well as 20% goes to however they want. A lot of times I've been really blessed. My kids say, I'll just give it all to God, all the rest of the 20%, which is great. Or they put it all in savings. They start realizing after, let me pause that quick thought and say, my kids were realizing that when we went to Cabela's, we like going to Cabela's. They have a fun shooting gallery, shooting arcade there. Where you put a couple quarters in, then you can shoot a little light beam, and it makes something move when you hit it. I would give them money. They'd say, "Hey, Daddy, can we do this?" And I give them each $1, and they go play 2 games and have fun. And then eventually they started having money. I said, well, you need to spend your own money. You're not going to spend my money. At first they're like, give me. And as soon as I told them that, they said, you know what? That's a waste of money. That's not worth it. I'm like, exactly. So now they're starting to realize that they're actually wasting their money and when they could be saving it. And I was blessed. My oldest daughter said, you know what? Instead of buying a car, I'm going to buy a house so that house I could rent out and then use that money to buy a car. I'm like, atta girl, that is fantastic. Chip off the old block. I'm proud of you. So obviously I'm going to help her do that. I'm going to walk her through that entire process. So save for future investing. Try to save at least 10%. The minimum is $100 a month. After an entire year, that's $1,200. After 3 years, that's $3,600. That's a good amount of money to put down on a house. And just start. That's the biggest thing. Just start. Don't look back and say, man, I wish I would have started then. Start now. There's a saying that the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. But the second best time is today. Start today. Sacrifice things today so that you can live amazing life in the future. Next thing, set your target age to retire. For me, I didn't think about how much money I really wanted, what I really want to do. I just knew that I wanted to give myself 10 years. I said, self, you have 10 years to start businesses, buy real estate, do whatever you can to quit your job because you're going to quit in 10 years. And I held myself to that. That was my goal, quitting in 10 years. And praise the Lord, I was able to quit in just about 9 years. I quit very earlier than my 10 years, but I worked hard to get there. So you want to set your target age to retire. If it's a 5-year plan, then fantastic. You have to work hard to get that 5 years done. If it's a 7-year or a 4-year or whatever it is, set your target age to retire and then strive for that. Realize that the clock's ticking. I know I personally do better when I have a time crunch, when I'm put under pressure. I do much better. And so I'm encouraging you to make sure that you have this time criteria set up so that you see this clock ticking, tick tock, tick-tock. Every day goes by. It's another day closer to when you need to quit your job. Now, let's say that your target income is $3,500. Well, I suggest to my students that you should buy properties that give you a minimum of $200 to $250 a month in passive income. Now, $200 a month in passive income, if you had 10 properties, that's $2,000 in your pocket every single month. Now, if you had 20 properties, that's $4,000 in your pocket every single month. If your goal is only $3,500, then all you need is 16 properties to then have enough money coming in passively from your properties to quit your job. You'll have $3,600 coming in. Your goal is $3,500. All you need is 16 properties that make you a minimum of $200. Now, if you're making $250, even better. You're making even more money. You're only going to need to have, 12 properties in order to make your goal? That is a super awesome goal to have, and it's very, very attainable. So like I was saying, there's many different ways to buy properties, different ways to finance them, and this podcast is not going to cover all of that. And so what I want to do is point you over to my other podcast sessions. Go to my blog. I have an online course that teaches you from A to Z everything about real estate rental properties. I even have coaching where I will walk you through the process of building a business, buying your first property, setting it up right, and being successful in starting your own business. The next step is I want you to scale up your business with leverage. Now, if you don't know what leverage is basically buying a property with a mortgage or taking loans out from somebody else, a bank, a friend of the family, or a friend, family, or somebody getting hard money, basically taking a mortgage, borrowing money to buy a property. You can scale up your business so much faster if you use leverage. Now, I bought my first property with cash. $17,000 cash is back right when the market was crashing. And $17,000 are total, all of our life savings, our wedding presents, everything. That was all of it. I bought our first property. Took me a lot of talking into my wife to get her to be okay with me spending that money. But after that first property, I refinanced it, pulled all of that money out, and bought another property. So I had two properties with one mortgage. Then I, from that second property, refinanced that, took that money out, bought two more properties with that. So I had four properties with two mortgages. And I kept turning that money over and over and over again. I recycled that same money over and over again. So when you go with leverage, you are able to dramatically increase how many properties you can buy because you're only limited with so much money in your own pocket. Look to using leverage and turning that money over and over and over again. You know, I have a podcast session called the BRRR method. Basically, it's a way to dramatically scale up your business so that you use leverage instead of using your own cash. And that is podcast session 6. So if you want to find that podcast session, go to masterpassiveincome.com/006. And I talk all about the BRRRR method, the way of turning that money over and over and over again. And lastly, I want you, and I've talked about this all through this entire podcast session, is sacrifice until you quit your job and retire early. Sacrifice going on trips. Sacrifice going out to dinner or watching movies. Sacrifice now so that in the near future, you can live the life of your dreams. Now, I personally would, for at least 7 or 8 years, would not go on vacation because I knew any money that went towards a vacation would be not used buying a property. I wanted to buy another property with that money. So our annual vacation was driving from Fresno, California, all 600 miles to Phoenix, Arizona, where my in-laws lived, my wife was from, visit the in-laws for Christmas or Thanksgiving, and then drive back. That was our vacation. Now, we would go camping, relatively cheap. We'd do things like that, but we wouldn't go to Disneyland. We wouldn't fly to Hawaii. We wouldn't do, things that would cost $2,000 to $3,000, $4,000. We knew that money could be used to buy more properties. Now, look at me. After all of that sacrificing, I took my entire family to Japan for 6 weeks, drove 1,200 miles around the entire Japan, saw everything, ate everything, and had such a great time. And all that sacrifice was absolutely worth it. In 2017, I went to Japan. In 2018, I went to Europe, went through England, Ireland, Scotland, Israel, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, France, Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, and it was absolutely amazing. I strongly suggest sacrifice. Instead of going out to dinner, maybe make dinner at home. Instead of going on a trip, go camping instead. Instead of having a $500 payment for your car, sell that car and buy an old $4,000, $3,000 car that you won't have a note payment on so you can save that money. Now, I am going to suggest that as you go through this entire process of looking at your life and figuring out what it's going to take to retire, I'm going to encourage you to then look at how to buy properties. Now, this podcast session is talking about how you can plan to retire early. All of my other podcast sessions, I talked about how to actually buy properties. That's what I'm going to encourage you to do. And I would like for you to subscribe to my podcast, subscribe to it, because I want to constantly be giving you great content so that you can quit your job early, so you can retire early by investing in real estate. All of my other podcast sessions, I talk all about how to buy properties, where to find them, where to get financing for them, how to manage them, how to build your business, how to grow your business. I teach all about that. So that's not in this podcast session. Go to my previous podcast sessions and go through all of those so that you can learn how to quit your job with real estate rental properties and buy your first property. Oh man, that was a lot to take in. How you can actually quit your job early. Now, buying properties, buying your first one's the hardest. Let me help you do that. If you go to my website, masterpassiveincome.com/free course, I want to give you a free course that's going to get you on track to quit your job. So you learn how to buy properties. You learn what it takes, how to analyze properties. I want to get you started. So go to my website, masterpassiveincome.com/free course. So you can get your free course. All right, that's it, guys. I'm so excited that you are on this path with me to retire early. Trust me, life is absolutely amazing. Sometimes, actually just yesterday, I thought, I am so blessed. My life is so great. There are so many people that have so much worse off. Other countries, even in America, that have everything so much worse than I am. I'm so blessed, and this is why I have this podcast, because it's time for me to give back. And hopefully you're willing to take what I'm giving you and change your life just like I was able to change mine. All right, guys, you take care of yourselves. I look forward to hearing from you. Get out there, reach out to me, get out there, and also start investing and change your life with real estate. Forget about Social Security, forget about your pension, 401ks, your IRAs, all that sort of stuff. Focus on real estate so you can change your life and live the dream life. All right, guys, see ya.